From Bedminster to Trump Tower, our next guest has been a behind-the-scenes fixture of Donald Trump's transition deliberations throughout. Kellyanne Conway, former campaign manager, currently is a senior advisor to transition, and maybe she's going to Washington, D.C. Who knows? She joins us now from Trump Tower. Kellyanne, what is the proper line for Donald Trump to draw regarding his business interests when he becomes president?
Whatever the legal lines dictate, of course. He will comply with all of that, and he's made clear all along, Mark and John, that his adult children, Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric, will be managing the family business. Obviously, these are not entry-level positions. They're already respected executives and mentees of his within the business, in charge of building things, acquiring things, taking meetings. You've seen their handiwork. I think the old post office building in D.C. is a great example of under budget, on time work that these adult children do, and they'll do that. I mean, he's made that clear. He's got a team of advisors and lawyers and accountants who will make sure he complies with the law. President
Obama suggested complying with the law is not necessarily good enough standard. Is he just going to comply with the law? Or is he going to worry about appearances as well when there's an intersection between public actions and his business interests? Just the law or appearances as well?
That's a typical response of a politician who's not been a successful businessman and job creator. Apart from that, I think he has to comply with the law, and that should be the appearance. In other words, people will know that he's got a full-time job as President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief. He's committed to that. He's already said he won't take a salary. I guess he'll donate that to charity. But there's no reason, other than those who still think the campaign is in full force, to believe that this man is lying or won't do what he's supposed to do upon taking office.
So, Kellyanne, I just want to stay on that because the Wall Street Journal editorial board, which you were just talking about, wrote a very strong editorial on this, or a strongly worded editorial about this. They are not professional politicians, and they have been, as you know, both friendly to conservatives and certainly friendly to capitalism. The argument that they made in their op-ed, or in their editorial was that the political damage to the administration if Mr. Trump doesn't liquidate his business holdings could be extensive. He's going to be constantly scrutinized for having pecuniary motives for any action that he takes on a wide variety of different policies that affect a wide variety of different countries and a wide variety of different issues. So is the Wall Street Journal, when it is arguing from the perspective of wanting him to succeed, not being critical of him, do you think that there's no merit to that argument, that it would be the safest thing just to liquidate the assets and move forward with a clean slate?
Well, two things. First, we already know what his policy positions are. He made them very clear. He has a 100-day plan. So if you're talking about the fact that he wants to create 25 million jobs over 10 years and unleash coal and shale and natural gas and other energy sources, or have big infrastructure projects that even Democrats are excited about, John, then if you're assigning then a possible pecuniary motive to that with his business holdings, we already know what he stands for. It's not like he's going to invent policy based on things that would benefit a business that he's no longer is involved in or temporarily not involved in. But secondly, and I think more importantly, is that as President of the United States, he will have no authority whatsoever over what is happening in his business, what the acquisitions are. And I think that the most important point I would make about all this, people never look at the other side of the ledger. How many tens of millions of dollars has Donald J. Trump and his family lost and sacrificed for him to run for president? First of all, he spent a lot of his money, but secondly, deals have been in abeyance. I mean, people haven't completed deals. They haven't been able to pursue other deals with the 3 adult children on the campaign trail, keeping their own schedule quite successfully, helping to get their father elected, and him being away from his business for a year and a half to do this, and now for the next 4 or 8. So it's actually the money they've lost that nobody wants to talk about, not the money they would gain based on different positions.
But Kellyanne,
I just think
he decided to run for president voluntarily, so those sacrifices are sacrifices he decided to take on himself. I think the question about policy doesn't go to the broad questions of job creation. It goes to the questions of what rulings that the EEOC would make, that the National Labor Relations Board would make, that are all going to have Trump appointees, all listening to Mr. Trump, where specific hotels, specific business interests of his would be affected by regulatory rulings, by legal rulings, foreign policy with respect to specific countries, like a particular country in South America or in Asia. All of those decisions have not been laid. He's not laid out his policy in advance on those questions. And as he makes decisions on them now, if they have a financial impact on his family company, they will be called into question if he makes decisions that seem to benefit his businesses.
It sounds like they'll be called into question even if he hasn't done that, because you're calling them into question. Look, John, I know the election results are very tough to swallow, particularly for those of you who just couldn't see it coming, couldn't even conceive of the possibility that the other candidate may actually win, that you don't understand America. This man understands America, animated America, and now will represent all Americans. But this whole line of argument is presumptively negative and presumptively accusatory.
With all due respect, Kellyanne,
it is.
This has nothing to do with me or my views. I'm reading you from a Wall Street Journal editorial.
Yes, it does.
A big champion of capitalism.
No,
The Wall Street
say all
Journal
that.
editorial, but they really did. You should read the editorial. That's exactly the argument
Hours
they're
ago.
making for liquidating his assets. And this has nothing to do with the election results. This has everything to do with standards.
No. You're presuming, well, a lot of this does, but because I think some people are still in campaign mode and have like political PTSD, I guess. But the fact is that this guy, you're accusing him of doing things. He's not even in the Oval yet, and you're accusing him of making policies based on things that aren't even that he's not even talking about. You're presuming that he's doing this for the wrong reasons, where most Americans that voted for him, 300 and some electoral votes, that ain't nothing, believe that he is actually going to go there and work for them, not line his own pockets. And I find the line of argument, it's your show, you're welcome to do it, of course, I respect that enormously, but I find the line of argument to be presumptively accusatory.